direct and close quick. That's MoveOutCashOut.com.
Did you enroll in a debt settlement program only to find out it is expensive, takes years, and crushes your credit rating? CSBK can solve all of these issues and have you going back in the right direction in about 4 months. Log on to CSBK.com now to find out how and get a free consultation without obligation.
Broadcasting across California with Nikki Lorenzo. This is Inside California Politics.
Hello and welcome to Inside California Politics. I'm Eitan Wallace in for Nikki Lorenzo. And we have a very busy show for you after a very busy week in the world of politics, including drama between Governor Gavin Newsom and President Donald Trump, this time playing out quite literally on the world stage. Then a new California law now in effect designed to give you a real delete button when it comes to your personal information. But we begin with a one-on-one interview with U.S. Senator Adam Schiff, fresh from a visit to the state capitol and to the largest ICE facility in California, located in Kern County. Schiff toured the facility with fellow U.S. Senator Alex Padilla. Here's our interview. Senator Adam Schiff, welcome back to the state capitol.
It's great to be with you.
So you're coming here to the state capitol just after visiting the California City ICE detention facility. It has the potential to hold up to just over 2,500 people. Why did you and Senator Padilla decide to visit that facility, and what were your takeaways? We
wanted to see what conditions were like. We have both served constituents who have been detained there, some who are still detained there. And we've been in touch through counsel to understand what conditions they're facing. But we wanted to go there and see with our own eyes and talk to people there. And we got a pretty thorough tour of the place. And most meaningfully, we sat down with people who are detained. One of my primary concerns was, are people getting medical treatment when they need it? And in particular, I asked the detention facility private operation, what if you're diabetic? Are you getting your insulin on time? Are you making sure that people get the treatment they need? Oh, yes, absolutely. One of the first detainees I spoke with said she'd been there for 2 months. She was diabetic. She had yet to get her medicine. That's very dangerous. And we heard repeatedly from detainees about their inability to get the medical care that they needed, medical care they were receiving before they were detained. So that's potentially life-threatening, deep concern. We heard other concerns as well. But mostly just the heartbreak of meeting people, and the vast majority of those detained there had never committed a crime, let alone a violent offense, apart from being undocumented. So the president had threatened, we're going to deport, the worst of the worst, the violent criminals. These were mothers and fathers and sisters and brothers separated from their family, taken away from their jobs, never been in detention before, and it was heartbreaking to talk with them about what they were experiencing.
We did reach out to ICE to ask about these allegations. I want to read this statement from the U.S. Department of Homeland Security. Quote, as bed space has expanded, we have maintained higher standard of care than most prisons that hold U.S. citizens, including providing access to proper medical care. For many illegal aliens, this is the best health care they have received their entire lives. Your response?
Well, there is not a single detainee who would concur with that statement. And after listening to the concerns that they had and their inability to access care, that's just false. And it certainly wasn't the reality of what we saw yesterday.
Would you go as far as to say this is a violation of the 8th Amendment of the U.S. Constitution, cruel and unusual punishment? And if so, what are you going to do about it? Are you going to sue?
Well, I don't know whether this meets the constitutional standard or not. It is undoubtedly cruel, though. Most, but not all, of the people we talked to had no criminal record. So, yeah, that's cruel, particularly cruel when it's unnecessary. You can have an immigration policy that's different than I would support, but not administrate it in a cruel way. It doesn't have to be cruel, but this is cruel.
And you spoke about health care and medical care just now in a few of your answers. So let's talk about the general idea here of health care in America. There's a lot of concern here at the state capitol that H.R. 1, what President Trump has called the big, beautiful bill, will lead to steep cuts, with some estimates showing possibly up to $30 billion per year in reductions for Medi-Cal, publicly funded health care, for low-income Californians. There's a lot of consensus from Democrats here at the state capitol that that will happen, but there's not a lot of agreement about what to do about it. The SEIU, United Healthcare Union, has proposed a tax on billionaires. They say we'll be able to come up with revenue, although Governor Newsom is staunchly opposed to that. He says it is a flawed tax proposal. What is your take on that? Do you support that proposal?
I haven't studied that proposal yet. I usually don't get into the ballot measures until they're even on the ballot. But I think one thing is clear. There is no way to make up for the hole that is being left in state budgets by what the president and Republicans in Congress did with their big ugly bill. We, the Congress, took $1 trillion out of the healthcare system, predominantly for tax cuts for really wealthy people and large corporations. And there's no way any state is going to be able to make up that loss. And, you know, here in the legislature and with the governor, they're going to try to figure out how do we mitigate the worst of the harms, but there's no question that there are going to be immense harms.
On healthcare as well, now premiums skyrocketing. Do you believe that Congress can reach a deal on the ACA Obamacare subsidies to extend them before the continuing resolution expires at the end of the month and we could see another government shutdown?
I really am skeptical there's going to be some deal on the ACA tax credits, mostly because for years now my colleagues on the Republican side of the aisle have been trying to kill the Affordable Care Act. Just last session, I think they took 50 votes to try to kill the ACA. They don't want to save it. So the bill that passed in the House with, I think, 16 or 17 Republican supporters will probably never get a vote in the Senate. If it does, they will vote it down, which is a tragedy.
Well, let me ask, do you think there is an opportunity where you and Republicans can work together on this?
I had hoped so. That time was, frankly, before the government shut down months ago, because we could see this coming from the moment that the big ugly bill passed. Look, I'm still very open to a bipartisan fix. The easiest fix is what the House passed, and that is a straight 3-year extension. Let's do that. And if we want to work on reforms at the same time, great, but let's not let the pain go on any longer.
President Trump making a lot of news this week. What's your take on what President Trump has said he wants to do with Greenland and acquire it? And let me ask you something else, because as a reporter who covers the state capitol here, where Democrats have a supermajority, they will not often speak publicly against Governor Newsom here at the Capitol. Well, let me flip that on Republicans in the nation's capital. They will not often speak publicly against President Trump, but they might speak privately to you. What are they telling you privately about what President Trump is trying to do with Greenland?
I think most of them think it's crazy. And certainly they're not going to say that publicly. And there would be a strong repercussion against the president if he tried to do it. But even short of doing it, it is so alienating our allies.
From international affairs to state affairs, right here at the state capitol. Welcome back to your old stopping grounds. You were a state senator here from 1996 to 2000. Why did you come back here to the state capitol, and who did you meet with?
Well, in order to mitigate some of the harms that are coming out of Washington, like these massive cuts to Medicaid, it's really helpful for me to hear from the state legislators. What are they working on that I can support? What am I working on that they can support? How do we protect Californians when the administration is canceling all renewable energy projects here, and they're canceling all funding for flood control here, and they're canceling SNAP benefits for millions? How do we work together to try to mitigate those harms?